You found the Live Local Marketing Podcast, where business owners share their knowledge about what's working in the market today. No fluff, just their experiences and stories from people who are making it happen. And if authentic, practical marketing resonates with you, be sure to visit livelocalwarmmarketing.com and learn to grow your business on warm marketing referrals. Now, on to the show. Welcome. Thanks for joining us for the Live Local Marketing Podcast. Today, we're with Miss Sara. Ma'am, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
Doing awesome. And for those of you just listening, she's got the pink. She is the podcast Barbie. It's pink. It's vibrant. It's looking good over there.
You know what? I got to show up as myself and show up as pink.
That's awesome. All right, we'll do a little background and get right into the questions. So Sara is an award-winning author, podcast strategist, and storyteller who helps business owners and consultants create impact through thought leadership and podcasting. As the founder of Branded Media, she's guided one core belief: everything happens for a story. That is awesome. All right, ma'am, are you ready for the questions?
I think so.
I think so. Oh, you are. You're ready. Let's do this. All right. So talk to us about a time you had a loss that turned out to be a win.
I was fired one time in my life. I was hired to be the marketing manager for a company, and I moved across the country for this job. I picked up my whole life. I was like, I'm getting out of Maryland. I'm moving to Texas. And I got hired as a marketing manager. And it was the worst job I've ever had, which is surprising to me because it was in like the board game and puzzle industry, which is like dream. That is, I got to play board games for a living. It was amazing. But at the same time, I was working under the CEO, and we did not have the same ideas around marketing. He wanted to only drive in-person sales at Target, and I was doing digital marketing. Digital marketing is for digital sales. And it just, things weren't meshing. So everything that he was doing or wanting me to do was to drive digital sales. I'm sorry, in-person sales at Target. And I just wasn't hitting any of the goals. And, but the Amazon numbers were up, but that didn't matter. So I ended up losing that job only a few months in, and it gave me the opportunity to accept a job I had been turning down, which was the director of marketing for a financial advising firm. And that job completely changed my life. It was to this day, when they're still a client, they're one of my favorite people to work with, and learned so much through that. It's what got me into podcasting, producing their podcast from the beginning. And I still love them. I became an accredited financial counselor, wrote a book, did all of this, and it all came from that opportunity. So thank you for firing me. That was a great decision on your part.
You can actually take the board games and turn it into a financial. There's a lot of financial board games. You could have married the two careers.
I could, and that might be why I have a minor addiction to Monopoly right now.
There you go.
Oh, I play every day on PlayStation. When people are like, "Oh, are you a gamer?" I'm like, "Yeah, I play Monopoly on PlayStation."
All right. So what is currently your favorite marketing strategy? You love this. It makes you get up in the morning and get excited.
You're never going to guess.
We already did board games. We wrote a lot of wild card. I don't know. Not face-to-face, obviously.
Podcasts.
Podcasts? Oh, yeah, that was a pretty obvious answer. Yeah.
It's podcasts. I love the medium of podcasting so much. It is a storytelling platform. It's not a marketing platform. And if you marry it with the right strategy, it becomes such a powerful marketing tool without it being ads and infomercials and hitting you with sales messages and pitch slaps. And it is artful, it is entertaining, it is building connections and bringing the world together a little bit at a time. And I think there's something just so beautiful about it. And any way that I can use it to help a small business or help a mom and pop, help people reach services that they need, reach products that they need, I love to do it. And that is my favorite marketing strategy.
But there is a little bit, the first job you didn't like, you got fired from, it was a little bit of face-to-face. There is some face-to-face element to it. So how do you differentiate that face-to-face versus the face-to-face we're having now?
What do you mean?
So you went to Target and you try to make in-person sales. There's an element of that. We're still doing face-to-face meetings. You and I are still getting together one-on-one, and we're still doing that same idea, but one seems to be land better with you than the other.
So I never did anything face-to-face. I was not in Target.
You didn't go like in person?
No, I was doing like digital
Oh,
strategies but he wanted in-person sales. But he wanted in-person sales all over the country. And I'm like, well, I'm one person. I can't be in Wisconsin at a Target right
yeah.
now. So it just didn't make sense. I am an introvert, but I do conferences. Like I used to do like 6 to 12 a year, like conferences that I would speak at or sponsor. And I've cut that back because it's a lot of people. But I like in-person connections. And I think
Relationships.
we're kind of, yeah, we're
Yeah.
in a digital world right now. And I think a podcast is the closest to in-person connection you can get without being in person.
Gotcha. You can still do the digital, but you can also have the relationship. So you get the best of both things you really enjoy.
Exactly.
All right, there you go. Got it. That makes more sense then. Thank you for explaining it to me. Sometimes I'm a little slow.
All
What
good.
things do you what things do you still do hands on, and what things do you hand off to a team or AI?
So
A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
ooh, interesting. I still do the things that I enjoy the most and the things that
Okay.
I think I do better than some other people. Um, I am really bad at handing things off. I am finally
Mm,
getting to the point that I'm able to do it. I do have an amazing podcast manager and assistant. I have an amazing team of editors. But if there's a show that I just really, really enjoy, I will edit it myself, even though it's not probably the best use of my time. But I like to do it and it's fun for me. But the things that I definitely do not hand off and hope I don't ever have to is the strategy pieces. And when I work with a client that wants to launch a podcast and we spend the first couple of weeks building out the strategy of the show, the concept of the show, what it's going to do, how we're going to do it, that is the part that is really, really fun for me. That's the
yeah.
reason that I do what I do. And I don't ever want to get to the point that it's like, we're too big. I have to hand that to somebody. Like I'll stop growing if that's what it takes because that part I know I'm good at it. Anytime I meet somebody, my brain immediately just starts designing what their podcast concept would be, and then I
That's
tell
cool.
them what it is, and I design their cover art, and they don't have a choice in this. I'm just like, "Hi, I made you this. Go do it, please." So that is the piece I love just coming up with the concept and the strategy.
So you have an editor and so forth now. At what point did you know you needed somebody to kind of step in a little bit?
Um, I was getting to the point that I was at capacity. I was working
Mhm.
with a business partner at the time. I am no longer, but he was handling the editing and production, and it was just spending so much time just making the little tweaks and changes, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't the best use of either of our time. And we needed to clear up our own calendars to do business development, to do these events, and not
Got it.
have to worry about is the show going to be able to go live in time because we're at a conference this week. So it was kind of just putting the client first and making sure that everything happened in a schedule that would work for them and
That's
not
good.
us having to work until 2 in the morning.
That's good. No, that's excellent. That's great. Because I know a lot of people like need they know, but they need to hear it from others, right? So that's helping them kind of validate like when they're at saturation, when they just
Yeah.
got to start handing it off.
Yeah.
So talk about branding. So you are very excited about branding. That's your thing. How do you know when you sit down with them how to pull their story out and make their brand?
Ooh. I have a different approach, I think, to storytelling than a lot of the ones that I've heard, but I don't think that we just have a story. And that's a lot of people that when they talk about storytelling, it's always just like one story. And we all just gravitate towards that one story. And I don't agree with that. I like to tell the little
Mm,
stories, the kind of the mundane details that people don't think about. My whole career got basically established and launched because of a story about a really embarrassing tattoo I got on
mm, mm,
a
mm.
on a vacation that I somehow ended up telling on one of the biggest finance podcasts in the world. So it's the little stories I think that matter more. And I guess when I'm talking to somebody about them and their brand, it's less about the specific stories and more just about the why and looking at
Mm.
why they're doing what they're doing and why it excites them. And we pick the stories from there. It's not, I don't like to start with a story because you end up losing your direction. I've judged speaking competitions where the only rules are you have 3 minutes, you have to tell a story, and it has to have a message. And they'll tell their big trauma, like heavy story. There's not a dry eye in the house. And then it gets to the end and it's like, and that's why you need a business coach. And I'm like, wait, what? Where did the where
Yeah.
where did this go? So I think starting with that story, it just you end up having to shove in the messages and shove in what you're trying to get people to understand. So instead, think about that why and that message and what is that, and you find the stories that fit so you can build the brand around the message.
That was going to be my follow-up. So I love that answer. So when you make the little stories, as you get to the main story, they all have to be on brand as well. Like you can't just pick random stuff out, I assume.
I think every time that I tell a story, it's for a reason.
Got it.
And generally, I mean that if I'm doing it from stage, if I'm doing it on a podcast, if I'm just talking to you on the street, I might just tell a stupid story because it's a stupid story. But everything that I do publicly is trying to teach someone something, whether it's I
Got it.
want you to understand what I do and why I do it, or I want you to understand how you could do something for yourself. So if I'm thinking about what is the message that I want you to walk away with, I'll choose the story that's going to teach it the best. And it's usually pretty simple. It's how did I learn it and how did I figure it out? And by letting you kind of relive that with me, you'll walk away with it yourself.
Got it. That's good. That's awesome. All right, so you're in a very unique space. When I say the word data, like it's not as easy in the podcast space or in the branding space to just have straight up data. What do you consider your useful bits of data to be?
The human pieces of it.
Okay.
I'm in the podcast space. I produce and launch podcasts, and I actually tell my clients to stop looking at the numbers. I think podcast download numbers are just they look nice, or they
Yeah.
don't, but
Yeah.
they're vanity metrics. And what I want to know is, did anyone message you when your episode went out and say something about it? Did you get any emails? Are people talking about it? Are you getting the reviews? When you meet somebody just out in the world that has listened to your podcast, what did they say? And I
Mm.
think that is so much more important because it's the only thing that's really can be validated. I mean, you can if I just click on something on accident, you're going to get a download. But that doesn't mean I listened. It doesn't mean I cared. But if I care enough to reach out to you and tell you something that I took away from your episode, that's meaningful, and that means that what you're doing is working.
Yeah, impact stats. That is really good. I mean, how do you get more impact reactions out of the audience? Is it obviously through some of the storytelling, but how do you before the episode even starts? Is it through like the image you use? Is it through the descriptions you use? Like how do you even get them to click and get that impact?
It all kind of comes down to the strategy. And when I'm launching a podcast, I spend so much time building out the concept on a really, really granular level. And I want there to be almost like with sales, there's that unique selling proposition. What is it
Yes.
about this product? With a podcast, I say unique listening proposition. And what is the promise that every single time you tune into the show, this is what you're going to get? You're going to walk away with this value. And I make sure that my clients that are hosting the shows are weaving that promise into every single episode so someone can tune in at any point, any episode, and they get that value. And if you're not doing that with a podcast, I think you're doing yourself a disservice because your audience is not going to stick around because they don't have a repeated reason to. And so just
Mm.
giving that value over and over again, it does what I'm here to do.
So I'm one more question before we move on to the next one. I'd
Yeah.
had to ask. So when you have your clients and do you sit down and listen to the podcast episodes with them and kind of evaluate and make adjustments and things with them? Like, hey, listen, I listened to episode 5. this is what we did, this is what we have to do, here's some adjustments we have to make. Is that kind of what you provide as well?
Yeah, so we do for a show that we launched, we are constantly paying attention to what the content is and what we're talking about, and we're doing ongoing strategy meetings and kind
That's
of
it.
planning out what we're doing and what we need to adjust and what has landed, what hasn't, and kind of making those adjustments. But with shows that we didn't launch, we do like an audit and we'll look through
Got it.
everything that they're doing. What are they doing right? What could they be doing better? And if we end up taking over that show and doing it with them, we're kind of always just working in that audit process and just evaluating as we go. So it's not just okay, we're 100 episodes in, let's look. Let's see what
Yeah.
we're doing. We're just
Got it.
constantly making sure that things are staying on brand. They're sticking to that promise that we set from that first episode.
That's a really good answer. All right. So, what strategies do you not do anymore? Like, hey, listen, this doesn't work. The ROI is not there. Throw it away. Don't do it.
Events.
Oh, really?
As far as marketing for myself, like for my company, I did a lot. Last year, we were kind of in an experimental,
Yeah.
let's actually put money into branding because so many of our clients are referral based. So it's like let's do something, and we did a lot of events that we were just in the expo hall of conferences,
Mm.
and they were terrible. And I said I would never do that again. And then, of course, a friend of mine who runs a company that I partner with often said, "Hey, we're doing our first in-person event. You want to sponsor it?" And the day after I said never again, I'm just like, "Yeah, take my credit card." So I'm doing one this year because I love them and I'll
Uh,
support them in whatever they do. But for the most part, I'm going to be avoiding expo halls for me. They work for some companies, they work for some business models. They're not working for me.
is it because you don't really have that opportunity to tell your story because you are very story driven and you really just have like 3 seconds to make an impression, and that really doesn't seem to fit your brand? Is that why?
So the times that I do actually get clients from events is when I'm speaking. So
Yeah.
that does make sense. Um, I do like to be able to tell a story, connect, teach something, give them something of value. That's not a sales pitch. But I think it's also what I'm selling, and because what I'm selling at these events
Yeah.
is a podcast, and that is not something that people understand. That's not like you don't
Yeah.
go to a conference for the most part or like an expo hall thinking, "All right, I need to buy a podcast. Which store do I go to?" I have to teach you
Yeah.
why you need it and teach you the like what it's going to do for your brand. So I need more time than that. I need more interaction than that. So it's not just oh, this one looks pretty, let me pick it up.
All right. So let's say you're talking to people and you're not sure they want to do the podcast. You, like you just mentioned, they're not sure. You have to kind of explain what it is, what it can do for their business. How do you talk to them about their confidence level? Because it is not easy to just, I'm going to do a podcast. Like, how do you build up their confidence, and what kind of talk do you have with them about that?
I love that question, and that's something that, like, I even do with myself because
Oh,
I
that's
do this
good.
all the time. I hate public speaking. I It took me years of being up on the production side to actually get in front of the camera and get on the mic. But usually I have two different things that I say. One of them is stop making it about you.
That's
And
good.
when I say that, like, it sounds kind of rude, but what I mean
No.
is if you're too nervous to get on a podcast and tell your story and share your value, that's a you thing. Like you're making
Mhm.
this about you. But if instead you think about the person listening and what are they going to gain from your story?
Yes.
How is your story
Yep.
going to help them either understand something, feel seen, feel understood, feel a connection? And if you think of it from their point of view, it makes it a little bit easier because it's not about you anymore. And then at the same time, what I usually tell them to my goal at episode 1 is that at episode 100, I want you to be so embarrassed of episode 1. I want you to
That's
look back
good.
at episode 1
Yeah.
and be like, like yell at me. Why did you let me put this out? This is horrible. This is so embarrassing.
That's good.
Because a podcast is one of the few things where you can actually see your growth and your improvement. And we're never good at something the first time we try it. At least I know I'm not. And if you don't start doing it, you're never going to get good at it. So get the cringy ones out of the way. Get the ones out of the way that you wish no one ever actually saw, so that you can get to episode 20, 50, 100 and start seeing episodes that you are really proud of. And you're not going to care about the bad ones anymore.
This is not a definite, like a number answer, but in general, how many episodes does it usually take for somebody to kind of hit into a rhythm? Like in general, I know it's not a set answer, but
it's not, and it does depend. I love watching episode ones because they're always so bad. I love watching listening to the trailers because they're so bad. And it's not necessarily an episode number that I look for. It's when do they stop sounding scripted?
Okay.
And a lot of the times, like the first episode, because usually even if it's a guested show, I recommend your first episode being solo, because I want you to be front and center. I want the first episode to be why is this podcast exist? What are we doing here? What is the goal? Who are you to be talking about this? And 9 times out of 10, they are reading it off of a script.
The script.
And you can tell it's a speech, it's pre-written, it's not a conversation. But it's also hard to do a solo episode because it's just dependent on you. So when they get to the point where they've stopped relying on a script, they've stopped relying on their set, and this is not a dig at you because this is a very specific model, but when they stop relying on a set list of questions. But this is a different concept. It fits in this concept, so this is not at you. But when it is supposed to,
I can take criticism.
No, I like this concept. But when it's supposed to just be like an organic conversation, but you have a set list of questions, you feel like you need to rely on them, and then you're changing the direction, you're changing the flow and everything, and it just doesn't make sense. So when they start to throw away their question list, that's where I'm like, okay, we're moving. This is good.
I have thousands of more questions. But I love the storytelling element of it. Like, you're such an amazing storyteller where you spend the time that's necessary to make a podcast rather than just like a generic, this is what I'm using for marketing to grow my business, into I have a story I have to tell. And where would the world be if I didn't tell the story? And that's what moves so many people. And you take it to a different level, which I really love. So we're going to move into you talking about your business and where people can get a hold of you, especially if they have an idea or want to talk podcasting.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, you said it. I run Branded Media. It's a branded podcast production house. We do full service launches for podcasts for businesses as strategic marketing tools. We work with existing podcasts. We do audits. We take over your management and production. We do strategy sessions and kind of help you just improve what you're doing. So if anyone has a podcast, they want to talk about it. If anyone wants a podcast and wants to talk about it, my website is workwithbranded.com. And you can see what we've got going on and get to know us a little bit.
Do you throw your stuff on social media as well? I can imagine your stuff is very entertaining and worth watching.
I think I've updated and posted to social 4 times since the Biden administration. I'm so bad at actually posting things to social, which I tell all my clients, you need to be active on social. You need to be posting things. I'm giving them content. I'm like, here from this episode, here's reels and here's graphics and here's everything that you need. And then you look at mine and it's like, she posted in 2019. So do I have them? Yes, I do. I think most of them are Stick with Branded. Feel free to go follow me. I won't be blowing up your feed, I promise.
That's awesome. All right. So, and I fully expect a breakdown of how bad my episode is because I had you the branded question. So an evaluation once we're done here. Let's do this thing. Let's get some feedback.
It is the format.
But we're always looking to improve.
I don't like question lists when the format is supposed to be just a free-flowing conversation. So I prefaced it.
Okay. No, I'm with you. I know we're always getting better though. Like my first one, I definitely just read the questions and it was very robotic, but now I can pivot a little bit and I can do a few things. So I would be a decent student, I think. I hope I'd learn a lot.
Go back and watch your first episode. Tell me what you think.
I would definitely do that.
Do it.
All right, man. We appreciate your time and your insights. And if you've got a podcast, be sure you're telling a story. Make sure you listen to Sara's podcast. And if you have one, Step down. She'll that with you. She'll go over it with you. She'll evaluate it. She'll give you the insights you need to make it better.